Hey everyone, I hope you're well. This is the story about what if Naruto was a silent genius. Before we start, please subscribe to the channel and like the video as well. I have created a playlist of this what if and other what ifs, make sure to check them as well. So without any further ado, let's start the what if. My name is Naruto Uzumaki and I am hated by my own village. Why? I don't know, no one would ever tell me. I am an orphan. I've asked about my parents but all they told me was that they died fighting the Kyuubi. The third Hokage protected me from the villagers, at least that's what I thought until I found out he was protecting them from me. He died of old age, leaving the villagers to do whatever they wanted to a helpless 6-year-old. Hits, cut, bruises, and scars. I smiled each day as if it was nothing, acting out of line so they would notice I'm there. I acted dumb when Iruka-sensei would call on me. Soon I got sick of the stares and hits and being pushed around. I went to the one place that for some bizarre reason accepted me, Ichiraka Ramen. I dragged my 12-year-old body trying to forget the pain of the fresh cut on my arm. I walked in and was greeted with a smile. Naruto. What's it gonna be, the usual, or are you finally gonna take my advice and try something new? Tucci, the ramen shop owner, asked. Tucci, you shouldn't sell to this kid, he's bad for business, a man said as he stopped eating his ramen. Nonsense. Naruto is my best customer, come on up Naruto. I looked at the man and the women next to him looking at me in disgust. No, thanks old man. I have to do some training, can't get left behind, right? I smiled brightly, closing my eyes so I wouldn't see the stares. Well, okay. But come after, I'll treat you to reward your hard work. I smiled at his kindness. He was the greatest person in the world and so was his daughter. The only people in the whole village who ever showed an ounce of kindness to me. Naruto. Are you okay? I noticed my tears began to flow. I sniffed and wiped them away, not wanting to cry in front of trash and a kind old man. I'm just looking forward to the ramen. I left before he could say anything. Once I got to the training grounds, I hit the tree so hard that my forehead protector slid off and covered my eyes. I couldn't hold it in anymore and fell onto my back and curled into a ball and started sobbing. Why are you crying? I moved my protector and looked up through blurry eyes, so see a tall man probably in his late teens. I'm not crying, I said, sniffing and wiping away tears. Then why is water coming out of your eyes? The man kneeled down. He was wearing a black cloak with red clouds on it. It's an allergic reaction, I said, holding back the rest of the tears. I wonder. He pulled me into a hug. It's fine, I won't hurt you. Now tell me what's wrong. Did you lose a match or something? Maybe you failed a mission? I shook my head and began to tell him everything. So that's what happened, he said sadly as he patted my head and smiled at me. Why don't you come with me? You'll be able to meet some interesting people and we travel a lot. We also go on missions together, we're kind of like a family made up of different runaway ninjas, he said, holding out a kunai. That was when I noticed his Konoha forehead protector. It had a huge line across it. I hesitated but took the kunai and took off my protector and made a line through it. He smiled and helped me up. You remind me of my brother, he said. What's your brother's name? I asked. Sasuke. I grimaced at the name. So you're the man who killed Sasuke's clan? But why? I asked. Well, since you told me I'll tell you, but you have to keep it a secret. I'll tell you when we get to the base. For now, go and get anything you need and meet me at the gates in an hour, he said before disappearing as fast as he appeared. I ran towards my home, packing everything into a backpack. I was running towards the gates when I stopped. I looked at the ramen stand and noticed there were no customers. I went in and was greeted by smiles once again. Hey Naruto, did you train hard? I am asked, leaning on the counter. The old man walked next to her and gave me a smile. I jumped on a stool and reached over the counter and hugged them. Thank you for everything. I love you guys so much. Please stay healthy and keep a bowl of ramen reserved for me, cause I will return even if it's only to see you guys. Before they could process anything, I ran out. After a couple of seconds, I heard footsteps right on my tail. Naruto. Please wait. I heard I am yell, but I didn't stop as I saw a figure appear at the gates. Naruto. Tucci's voice cracked. The guards were alerted by the figure just outside the gates. Once I reached the man, I turned to see old man Tucci and I am crying. Thank you, I mouthed as I let a tear fall, and then I stepped back and we disappeared. All that was left was a flock of crows that flew away. 4 years later, age 16. Naruto. Let's go. I won't wait forever, Toby said. Coming. I yelled as I put on my mask that Itachi gave me. Naruto, I turned around to see Itachi sigh. You're wearing your shoes on the wrong foot. I looked down and quickly fixed them. If you can't handle it, I'll have someone else go, Pain said, walking up to us. I'm fine, plus I most likely won't see anyone I know. It is a pretty far village from Konoha, I said, reassuring them. That does it. I was lifted up and thrown over Toby's shoulder. For the last time, Toby, I'm 16. This was fine when I was 12, but I'm gonna end up breaking your back, I yelled, and all hell broke loose as we heard something snap. Ah! My back! Toby would have dropped me face first if it wasn't for Sasori using his puppet jutsu. Thanks, Sasori, he gave me a slight nod and began to drink his coffee, ignoring a yelling Toby. Itachi sighed, rubbing his temples. What the hell have you been feeding Naruto? Cried Toby. Ask yourself that, you're the one who cooks. Deidara said, walking in. Toby stopped and then continued rolling around, only making the pain worse. This is what I get for wanting my little brother to grow up big and strong. It was my turn to sigh. I kneeled down. I'm big and strong, so thanks, Toby. Get some rest, I can manage this mission alone. I patted Toby's hair with a gloved hand. He sniffed and nodded. Actually, if you don't mind, I'm going with you, Itachi said, looking for a way to escape from Toby for just a little while. Sure, we should get going or we'll be late though. I said my goodbyes and left. Alright, all done. I said, stretching my arms. Let's head BA, Itachi. We both turned to see someone we didn't expect. Note the sarcasm. It was Team 7 and another member. Sasuke's face turned from surprise to angry and he lunged at Itachi with something coming out of his hand. In the blink of an eye, I was standing in front of Itachi and I grabbed Sasuke's wrist, stopping the attack. I used my free hand to grab his neck and tighten my grip. Sasuke clawed at my gloved hand and threw a hand at my face, making the string on my mask snap. It was old anyway. It fell to the ground. A gasp came from Sakura and I smirked as I threw Sasuke against the tree. Are you my replacement? I asked the boy in black whose skin was a gray color. Are you Naruto? He asked with a half-assed smile. And you are? I asked. Sai, he answered. I looked over at Sakura and Kakashi, then back at Sasuke. Times sure do change. I smiled and walked back to Itachi, who was trying hard not to glance over at Sasuke. I picked up my mask and looked back at them. How's Ichiraku? I asked. They were dumbfounded, probably expecting a different question or an insult. Fine. Kakashi let out. Good, Itachi, we should go before he ack. I sighed. Too late. I looked over at Sakura. If my eyes serve me right, you're a medical ninja now, right? Sakura nodded. Then you can deal with the after effects, I said, making a mini Rasengan with my finger and threw it at Sasuke. It pushed him so hard the tree broke. Of course I didn't use the full force. If I had, he'd be dead. Sasuke! Sakura yelled, going to his aid. Don't worry, he won't die. I only put 5% of power in it, I said, turning to Itachi, who was grinding his teeth. Let's go, he'll wake up soon and I don't think you can handle fighting him yet. I knew Kakashi was hearing from the stunned look on his face. I hope to see you again, I waved to my replacement. I won't count on it, he said, looking at Saki then at me. We left without another word. I knew Itachi was gonna kill me for hurting Sasuke, but I couldn't stand it. I know he doesn't know, but how could he not have faith in his own brother? Toby treated me like his little brother and always does everything he can to make me happy when I get sad. That goes for the rest of the Akatsuki. We aren't blood related, yet we love like family, even with the occasional fighting. So how is it possible that your biological brother would look at you with such hate in his eyes? I stared at Itachi's back. It must be really painful for him. My eyes clouded over something I learned to do to hide my emotions. So that's where he went? Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, asked. We saw him together with Itachi. Kakashi shot a quick glance at an irritated Sasuke. It's been 4 years since he's left. I heard rumors of a new member, but I didn't want to believe it was him. Tsunade looked down, pain in her eyes. She hadn't met Naruto until a couple of years back. At first she didn't know he was from Konoha until she learned his name and became Hokage. Alright, you can leave, Kakashi. I want you to fill me in completely, not a single detail out. Kakashi nodded. Naruto's POV. I laid on the floor, my eyes stared at the bulb that had burned out about 2 hours ago. So I was replaced, ha. Well, at least Ichiraku is alright. I rolled over and got up. Everything is so messed up, isn't it, Celine? I smiled up at the moon. Do you think it's wrong of me to be jealous? I asked, seeing a star twinkle. Yeah, I thought so. I frowned as I put my legs out of the window. I jumped out and began to walk forward into the thin woods. So you'll talk to a spirit but not me? Kurama said in my mind. Shut it, Fox. Damn, I thought you were dead, I sighed as I kept walking. I was reading up on that book you gave me, Kurama said. Oh? I thought you weren't interested in fairy tales, I said, raising an eyebrow. I'm not, but this book is just downright strange. This isn't even a fairy tale book, it sounds so realistic, Kurama said, almost yelling. I'm glad you think that, I yawned as I moved my head so it would miss the tree branch. I swear, kid, there is something wrong with you. The story you wrote was so sad and just depressing. I mean, if it was a fairy tale, wouldn't it have some happy ending? I looked at him in my mindscape. Not everything has a happy ending, I said before leaving. I kept walking until I could see the outline of a small shrine. I sat next to it and looked up at the barely visible trees. I dragged my legs up to my chest and hugged them. I wish you were here to sing that song to me like you used to when I was small. I smiled, a tear streamed down my cheek as I looked up. Author POV. Naruto, wake up, we have to go, Toby banged on Naruto's door. Naruto got up and put on his cloak and walked out into the bathroom. He brushed his teeth and combed his hair back only to have it bounce up in his usual style. He walked down the stairs and stopped and looked around. Toby, he called out as he noticed all the lights turned off. Out here. Toby called from outside. Naruto rushed towards the door after getting an apple. But why do all of us have to go? Deidara groaned. Hey, I thought we had the day off today, Naruto said, taking a bite of his apple. Well, I was planning on us going to the lake, but something came up, Toby said, throwing him a scroll. A clear chakra hand caught it and opened the scroll. The Hokage wants to see us. What business does Konoha have with us? Naruto asked, his mouth full of apple. Naruto, don't speak with food in your mouth, Konan gave him a look. I'm guessing they want to see you. I heard from Itachi you gave them quite the greeting, Haiden elbowed him. Whatever, do we have to go? I mean, we can still hit the lake, I could buy a watermelon, Toby shook his head. If we don't go they plan on attacking us, Pain said. No surprise, that's all they know how to do, attack. Naruto threw his apple core away. Naruto, don't you want to see how Ichiraku is? Itachi asked. Naruto looked at him and slowly shook his head. Whose side are you on? He said in a low voice. I've actually always wanted to see where you two came from, Zetsu giggled. Well, let's go. Toby yelled as he sucked them into another dimension using his eye. Tada! Toby moved his fingers as they magically appeared before the gates of Konoha. Let's just get this over with, Naruto said, putting on his mask. So kid, what's it like to be back home? Kurama asked. This isn't my home, it never was and never will be, Naruto yelled in his mind. Stop! What business do you have here? A guard yelled. Step down. You are the Akatsuki, yes? Another shinobi asked. Pain stepped forward with a nod. Come this way, he said as he led them towards the top of the Hokage tower. Naruto stayed near Itachi for he was closest to him and felt somewhat better around him. Lady Hokage, I have brought them, the shinobi said. Good, you may take your leave, Tsunade said. The guard bowed and left. Tsunade turned around and began to walk towards Naruto. She let out a smile as she removed his mask. You're so tall, Naruto, you should know about. Tsunade's hands were on Naruto's face until they were slapped away. I know. He's dead. Naruto looked at her with the coldest gaze that made her want to shudder. She gulped and looked away, then back at him. Naruto, we want you to come back to the village, Tsunade said, glancing at Pain. Everything is ready, your apartment has been paid these last few years, so don't worry about where to live, so please Naruto, come back to Konoha. If not, then we'll be forced to officially brand you a Rouge Ninja, and if that happens, other ninja will come after you. I'm not asking for you to stay forever, but I want you to at least stay 6 months before deciding whether or not you want to stay." Naruto looked at her, then at Pain and Toby. "If this is what you want, we will support your decision, but if you want to stay with us, we'll fight together. We are family after all." Pain smiled. Naruto looked at Itachi. "We'll stay nearby just in case you change your mind. But Pain is right, even if you officially become a Rouge Ninja, we will always protect you." Itachi set his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto looked back at Tsunade and then turned towards the village. "What now, kid?" Kurama asked. 3 months, Naruto said, looking at Tsunade. "I'll only stay 3 months, then I'll make my decision." Tsunade thought it over, then nodded. "Very well," she said. "Are you sure about this?" Kakuzu asked. "I'll be fine, after all I'm never alone," Naruto said. "We'll be back in 3 months' time, but of course if you choose not to stay during the 3 months, you know how to contact us," Pain said. Naruto nodded. "Let's go. It doesn't seem we're quite welcome here," Toby said, looking around, seeing Ambu hidden within range. "Good luck," Sasori said, patting his shoulder. Naruto looked at his shoulder and whispered something. After they all left, the Ambu left as well. "You won't need those." Tsunade made a reach for his mask and cloak. "Don't touch me," Naruto growled. "Right. Well, I made arrangements for you to go back to your old team, so for now you'll be a 4-man squad. They're waiting for you at the training grounds," Tsunade said. Naruto put on his mask and walked towards the edge of the roof and jumped off. "Naruto!" Tsunade yelled, running towards the edge to see Naruto jumping on the rooftops. She smirked. "Show off," she said, going back into the tower. Naruto walked forward, not in any hurry to get there. "There you are. I was beginning to think you wouldn't stay." Kakashi smiled behind his mask and waved. "Hey Naruto," Sakura said cautiously. Naruto turned to her, his cold blue eyes making her sweat. "Don't you think that cloak is a little too noticeable?" she said, pointing to it. Naruto looked down and started to take it off. Sakura immediately started to blush and drool a bit as Naruto revealed his perfectly sculpted chest and abs through his net shirt. He turned the coat inside out and put it back on. It was now fully black. "I guess that's better. You can take off the mask too, you know," Kakashi said. Naruto looked at him for several seconds. Naruto didn't like being without the mask out of home, so he settled for putting it to the side of head. "That will do, I guess. Well, since we're basically starting over again, why don't we start with introductions?" "Sakura, you first," Kakashi said, clasping his hands together. "My name is Sakura Haruno and I like training with Lady Tsunade. I hate when she ends our sessions just to go drink. My dream for the future is to become even greater than my sensei." Sakura smiled. "She's changed quite a bit," Naruto thought. "But she's still as flat as a board." Naruto ignored him. "I'm Sai. I like painting and I don't like people looking at my personal belongings." He shot a quick glance to Sakura. "My dream for the future is, well, I don't actually know yet. I just want to live every day to the fullest, I guess." Sai gave Naruto a smile before he continued to paint. "Sasuke Uchiha, I don't like a lot of things and I hate most things. My goal is to kill my brother and become Hokage to restore my clan." Sasuke gave Naruto a glare. "What about you, Naruto?" Kakashi asked. "My name is Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki." Kakashi went stiff at the sound of his name. "I like, apples, I guess. I hate, basically everything but the Akatsuki and apples. And to me, having dreams or goals is useless. Failure will always follow." Naruto said the last part in a dark voice. "But, what about becoming Hokage?" Sakura asked. "You sure are nosy." Naruto said, his eyes lazy as he looked at her. "Being Hokage has no merit to me anymore. Why protect a village when that village treated you like a disease?" Naruto said, and the others just stared at him as if wanting to say something, but absolutely nothing came out. "Well, it's still bright and early, why don't we get some training done before our first mission?" Kakashi said, getting off the stump he was on. Naruto looked around and then up. This wasn't here before, he thought as he saw an apple tree. Sakura stared at him. He was usually annoying and loud, but now he's quiet. It's a freaky change. "How?" Sakura let out as she saw an apple slowly floating towards Naruto. "But, you," she stuttered. Naruto looked at her blankly. "Did you want one?" he asked, holding out an apple. No, that's not it. Naruto, how did you get it down? You were just looking at it. Sakura pointed to the apple. What exactly have you been doing these past few years? Naruto asked, taking a bite out of his apple. What do you mean? Sakura asked. Kakashi became a bit interested in the conversation since he hadn't seen anything either. The basic fundamentals. Sasori taught me them when I first got there. Since you're my... He paused and gripped his gloved hands. Teammates. I'll teach you the basics, he said. What's going on? Sasuke asked, walking over to them with Sai. Exhibit A, Naruto said as he looked at Sasuke trip forward and then be lifted up by his leg. What the hell? What did you do? Get me down, Sasuke yelled. Wow! How did you do that? Sai asked. I used translucent crystal, Naruto said as he put Sasuke down. What's that? Sakura asked. It's a form of chakra control that takes a lot of amounts of chakra. I basically use them like an extra pair of arms. Anyway, I have somewhere to go, so if you don't mind, I'll see you later. He slid his mask back in place and dashed away. Translucent crystal? Ha! They sure taught him some odd things, Kakashi said, stretching. Okay, well, let's get training, he clapped. Damn, I couldn't do it, Naruto sighed. He tried to go to Ichiraku, but it was full and his legs just wouldn't move forward. Don't be too hard on yourself, kid, Kurama said, making Naruto enter his mindscape. Naruto sighed and flopped on top of Kurama and laid on his fur. I hate being here, he said, closing his eyes and taking off the mask. Then why did you stay? Kurama asked as he put a tail over Naruto. I don't know, my gut just tells me to run for the hills, and I haven't gotten scared since I was 9 and had to kill someone for the first time. Naruto said, waving his hands in the air. There's something going on, and if they called me to come back, then they must want something from me, or they want this, Naruto said, taking out an amulet. You think they want Selene's amulet? Kurama asked. Naruto nodded. When the Hokage touched my shoulders, I could feel her hands searching for something. Sasori noticed it too and connected a chakra string to it so he could track it if something happened to it. This amulet has the power that gives both of us life. If we didn't have it, we would both die, Naruto said. Kurama sighed and moved his tail. Someone's here, Kurama said, looking up. Naruto slid his mask on and left his mindscape. You're early, Sasuke said, sitting under the tree Naruto was on. Yeah, Naruto said, sliding his mask to the right side of his head. Here, Naruto looked down to see Sasuke holding up a bag. Naruto jumped off and sat down beside Sasuke and grabbed the bag. Apples? Naruto asked as he saw a couple of green and red apples washed and in a bag. We started off on the wrong foot, and you said you liked apples, so. Sasuke looked anywhere but Naruto's face. If you don't want them, then don't eat them. He stopped as he saw Naruto take out a blade. He cut the apple in half and handed one to Sasuke. Thanks, apples are basically the only thing I eat. Kisame said that I can't live on apples alone, but so far I'm still alive, Naruto said with a blank face and a shrug. Hey, Naruto, can I ask you something? Sasuke asked, looking at the apple. What's up? Naruto asked as he spit out a seed. How's Itachi? Naruto stopped half-bite and put his apple down and stared at it. He threw the apple up and caught it, crushing it in his hands. He's fine, Naruto said, getting up and taking off his gloves. Sasuke looked at his hands to see his black nails and a moon crest on his left hand. That's what the Hokage was talking about, so he does have it, Sasuke thought as he looked away. Hey guys! Sakura yelled. Sai and Kakashi waved from behind her. Let's get going, Kakashi said with a yawn. Naruto turned with new gloves on and put the dirty ones in his backpack. Naruto grabbed the bag of apples and dropped it. The bag of apples disappeared once it hit the ground. What did you do? Sai asked. Nothing, Naruto said as he began to walk towards the gates. Alright. Sai said. You aren't gonna tell them? Kurama asked. If my theory is correct, then telling them my powers would be idiotic. Of course, it's not like they've seen any of my actual moves, Naruto said in his mind. Target has been locked going in, Sakura said into her mic, but before Kakashi could stop her, she launched at a target. Her whole body felt fuzzy, then she landed on her stomach, her eyes completely blank. Kakashi sighed loudly, "Sasuke!" Kakashi yelled. On it, Sasuke activated his Sharingan and went in to save Sakura. "I'll go after the target," Kakashi said. Actually I think we're fine," Sai said as he looked down from his bird that flew in the sky. "Ha!" Kakashi let out as he looked to where Sai was pointing. There he saw Naruto tie up the target and drag him. "Your time is bad, Naruto," said everyone gathering around. "You need to wait for orders, don't just charge in," Naruto said to Sakura. "My father told me you were an excellent student. You should start showing it." "I did the mission by myself in a split second, and if I had been with my real teammates it would have taken less time," Naruto said. Sasuke clicked his tongue. "Don't AC," Sasuke started, but Naruto put a gloved hand to his mouth. "Shut up," Naruto whimpered. Naruto looked around and saw something shift from a tree above. "There," he said, a clear chakra hand shooting up and grabbing whatever was in the tree. Naruto brought whatever he had caught to his face. In his chakra hand he held a scroll. "When they said they'd be close I didn't think they'd follow me," Naruto sighed, making a move to open the scroll, then stopped and put it in his cloak. "What was it?" Sai asked, looking over his shoulder. "Nothing, it was just a bird." "Let's get going, it'll be night in about 2 hours, we have to get out of this forest and set up camp," Naruto said as he dashed away. Sai followed him, but the three stayed behind. "Sasuke? Did you see it?" Sakura asked. "Yeah, it's on his left hand, just like the Hokage said, it's a moon crest. He must have the amulet, we'll look for it tonight when he's asleep," Sasuke said. Kakashi looked pained but nodded. "Hey, wait up," Sai said. Naruto kept going, but at a slower pace. "So you never told me how you made that bag disappear?" Sai said. Naruto looked at him. "Why are you talking to me? You want it to, don't you, my amulet?" Naruto's eyes turned into slits ready to attack. "No, my orders come from the Foundation, not the Hokage. Besides, I have no interest in getting the amulet." Naruto stopped. He walked towards Sai, being careful since they were on a tree branch. He touched his forehead, making a blue light shine and move through Sai's head. "He's telling the truth," Naruto thought. "You brought your own tent?" Sakura asked. "Well, I bought it a couple of months ago, but I never used it since we never slept outside, we would always be home by night," Naruto said as he used his chakra hands to set it up while he talked to Sakura. "Oh, well, Sai and Sasuke are out hunting. I heard there were wild boars here. Kakashi is setting up our tent and I wanted to ask if you'd help me with the firewood." She smiled, sweat dripping down the side of her face. "So that's what you wanted?" Naruto looked at her and gestured for her to come closer. She did very cautiously, and Naruto put a finger to her forehead like he did with Sai. "Oh, so she's just scared to go by herself. Wait, this is in my sleep? What a petty move," Naruto scoffed and stepped away from her. "Wow, what happened?" She grabbed her head. "You must be sleepy, you dozed off a bit." "Let's go get the wood," Naruto said as he walked towards the trees. Sakura walked next to him, a little too close for Naruto's liking though. He tried to get some distance between them, but she just moved closer. Naruto finally let out a sigh. "Why are you so scared? It's not like a wild boar can hurt you, you'd probably kill the poor creature," Naruto said. "I'm not scared of the boars, I heard that there are ghosts around here. There's this legend going around the village," Naruto mentally face-palmed. "Ghosts aren't real." Naruto bent down to pick up some wood. "Says you. You used to be scared of them too," Sakura yelled. "I was a kid, I thought the only thing that was scary was something you can't see, like how most people are scared of the dark, but I was wrong. The scariest things are the things you can see. People you once trusted lying straight to your face." Naruto's eyes dulled and Sakura was close to jumping back. Naruto grabbed Sakura's hand, making her let out a whimper. "So you won't be scared," Naruto smiled. Sakura smiled back and they began walking, picking up more wood. Sakura couldn't look at Naruto. "I can't believe it. If he knew why we really wanted him to come back, he would hate us more than he hates us now. Back then I only looked at Sasuke, never had I noticed that he was always there for me." Naruto's eye twitched. He only grabbed her hand because he needed physical contact to enter her mind and look for information, not out of affection or sympathy. "Oh sweet apples, please don't say what I think you're gonna say," Naruto pleaded in his mind. "I finally realized Naruto gulped. "I love Naruto." In one swift motion he let go of her hand and looked at her. "Race you there," he said as he ran. "Wait, hey." Sakura ran, trying not to drop the wood. "Why did you run all of a sudden?" Sakura dropped the wood as her legs gave out. "We always used to race. Thought it'd be fun." Naruto laughed awkwardly. "You guys are finally back." Kakashi had set up some rocks to keep the fire from spreading. "We caught it," Sasuke yelled, letting the wild boar hit the floor. "Poor thing," Naruto said, looking at the dead boar. Kurama scoffed. "You've killed so many of your own kind, yet you're sad because they killed a boar. Oh man, you're something else, kid." Kurama laughed. "Just shut up," Naruto sighed. "Yeah, anyway kid, about that book. It was about those 2 years I was gone, wasn't it?" Naruto clenched his fists. "I said to shut up." Naruto yelled, but he had yelled it out loud and not in his mind. "Oh, He looked around at the shocked faces. "I'll start the fire," he said, stacking up the wood in the form of a pyramid to let the fire breath. "I'll do it your wind style, right?" Sasuke said, kneeling down. Naruto looked at him. "Right." Naruto said, "Better if they don't know I mastered all the chakra elements," Naruto thought. They all sat down while Sakura cooked the meat. Sasuke took a bite and immediately spit it out and started to cough. "You said you could do it this time," Sasuke coughed. Kakashi took a bite and he felt something vile rise in his stomach. "It's not that bad." Kakashi turned around, throwing the piece of burned meat out of his mouth. Sai didn't dare to eat it. Naruto was eating it just fine though. "He likes it." Sakura pointed to Naruto, making him gain consciousness and realize the sickening taste that danced on his tongue, causing him to spit it out. "Oh come on, it can't be that bad." Sakura took a bite for herself and almost passed out. "Why don't you let me handle it, okay?" Naruto said with a sigh. "You can cook?" Sai asked. "Well yeah, Tobi taught me how to cook." He always rambled on about how good it was to keep your wife happy, or something like that. Naruto snorted. "I was only 13 yet he talked to me about marriage and oh that's right." Naruto laughed. "He gave me the birds and the bees talk." You should have seen his face, it was so red when he tried to explain it. Kakashi looked at Naruto. "You really love them, don't you?" Sasuke asked. Naruto glanced at him. "They're the only family I've ever known," Naruto said. "Anyway, how about I make some soup and we can add the meat and some vegetables?" Naruto asked. "Sounds great, but where are you gonna get that stuff from?" Sai asked. "I have my ways. I'll be back in a second. I store so much stuff in here it's hard to tell where some things are." Naruto stepped forward and as he did his body started to disappear as if he had walked through water, leaving ripples in the air. "That's what happened with the bag," Sai said in awe. Naruto got back, dodging their questions, and began to cook. "Wow, this is delicious," Sakura let out. "Thanks," Naruto said, his eyes closed. "Are you really not going to eat?" Sasuke asked. "I don't eat much since we're always on missions. Sometimes I hardly get to sleep, so my body got used to sleeping 2 to 3 hours and eating 1 meal a day. If I try to break my comfort zone I'll end up getting sick," Naruto said. He got up. "I saw a river a while back, I'm gonna go shower," he said. They nodded and Naruto left. "Should we check now?" Sasuke asked. "No, the amulet is most likely on him. And if we go now he'll probably sense us." "We'll do it while he's asleep," Kakashi said. Sakura looked away. "After we get the amulet I'll clear everything up and tell him how I feel," Sakura thought. Sai just sat there enjoying his soup, minding his own business. Naruto hid behind a tree and sat down, taking out the scroll. "Hey Kurama?" Naruto asked, but there was no response. "I'm sorry," Naruto said before opening the scroll. He read it twice to make sure he had read it right. "This is why they wanted it." Naruto looked down, then got up and walked over to the river and undressed. He sat there cleaning his body, trying to shake of everything. The amulet hung around his neck. It looked like a raindrop. The color was a light purple and there was a small flower in it. Naruto extended his left hand so it was next to the moon in his eyes. I miss you, he whispered. Oh? I thought you were straight. Naruto turned to see Sai. Idiot, Naruto said, lowering his hand. Mind if I join you? He asked. Naruto gave a small nod and threw his head back so he was looking at the sky while Sai undressed. You were out here a while, aren't you cold? Sai asked. Naruto looked at him, seeing he was now in the water. I went for a walk, I just got in. Sai gave an understandable nod. So I saw Sakura staring at you a lot. She usually only looks at Sasuke like that, but now she won't even look at him, Sai said, that awkward smile on his face. Is that so? Naruto said, not really caring. Even if she did like him, it didn't matter to him. Love is nothing to him anymore. Do you like her? Sai asked. You sure talk a lot, don't you? Naruto said. No, not usually. I'm only talking because I want to make the most of the few days I have left, Sai said. What do you mean the few days? Naruto looked at him curiously. Isn't it obvious? I was simply replacing you for a while, they all knew you'd come back. So once you decide to stay, I'll be sent back to the Foundation. Well, it's not like I was really part of the team, the only thing they talked about was you. And then they just stopped a year ago. Naruto turned his head back towards Sai. Why don't you leave? Naruto asked. Because running away only makes things worse. Naruto looked away. Let's get out, we'll end up looking like raisins if we stay longer. Naruto reached into the air and grabbed a towel, brining it back. You never told me how you do that, Sai said. Oh well, it's nothing really. All I do is open a portal that is connected to many places. Naruto shrugged, wrapping a towel around his waist while Sai turned. They went back to find everyone was already going to bed. Good night, Sakura yelled to Naruto. Yeah, Naruto felt shivers run down his spine. Naruto zipped his tent. What are you gonna do about them? Kurama asked, making Naruto jump. You're talking to me? Naruto asked. Well, I can't talk to anyone else now, can I? Kurama said. You're not mad? Naruto asked. Because you raised your voice? No, I have no right to be mad. I left you alone in the time you needed me most. It's only natural you hate me even just a bit, Kurama said. So what are you gonna do? Kurama asked. Nothing. It seems they want the amulet because someone has threatened to attack the leaf. Of course I won't hand it over because she made this for me, Kurama frowned. They don't know, do they? That it will kill you once the amulet leaves your side, Kurama asked. No, I don't think so. I can still hear Sakura's thoughts. She thinks that after she explains why she had to take it and she tells me her feelings for me, we will live happily ever after. Naruto yawned and laid down. Don't worry, I put up a barrier. At their level they won't be able to scratch it. Naruto closed his eyes and tried to ignore the uncomfortable ground. Half an hour later, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Sakura headed towards Naruto's tent. Wait, Kakashi pushed them back. He put up a barrier. Does he know? They shrugged. I never said anything, Sasuke said. Sakura nodded. Maybe it has something to do with whatever he grabbed on the tree, Sakura said. Maybe. Anyway, let's get this thing down, Kakashi said. Morning time. Naruto yawned and got up, opening his tent. He almost tripped over Kakashi as he walked out. What are you guys doing on the ground? Naruto asked, looking down at them. They were on the ground, drowned in sweat and panting. Oh, you know, just a little morning warm-up, Sakura laughed dryly. Well, if you're sweating that much, maybe you should tone it down, Naruto said as he began to pull his tent into another dimension. Haha, yeah. Kakashi said, getting up. Ugh, I wish I could shower, Sakura said, getting up as well. Same here, but we don't have time, Kakashi said. Naruto didn't want to travel with sweaty, smelly people either. Naruto sighed and opened a portal. Alright, step inside, he said. Step inside what? Kakashi asked, looking around. Naruto forgot they couldn't see it. Just walk forward, I'll beam you back out in 15, so hurry up, he said. They looked at each other weirdly but stepped inside. Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi were now in front of a huge spring. How did we? Sakura looked around. The tents as well as Naruto and Sai were gone. Oh? So he can use portals, that's pretty convenient, Kakashi said. Hey, there's something over there, Sasuke said, pointing to a sign with a red arrow. They walked over to the stand to see towels. They're clean. They almost jumped out of their skins when they saw something move in the water. They turned their heads to see the strangest looking creature ever. Naruto tapped his foot to stop the buzzing in his leg. He had been sitting down for a while talking to Sai, and when he got up to go get the others he found that his leg had fallen asleep. Mind if I tag along? Sai asked. Not at all, after you, Naruto said, gesturing forward. Naruto quite enjoyed being around Sai, except for the fact that even though he's always smiling, you can tell how fake it is from a mile away. Though Naruto had no right to say anything since he was the same. Naruto walked in and immediately wanted to punch the living crap out of that freaking dog. What the hell, Fuji? Naruto yelled. They all turned to Naruto. They hadn't seen this side of him in a while. The side that immediately got mad and acted on instincts instead of thinking. Ah! Fuji, a small wolf-like human, was swimming in the water. Well, it was nice meeting you guys, but I should take my leave now, Fuji said before he turned into vapor and slowly flowed into Naruto's mouth. Naruto coughed. I hate when he does that, Naruto said in between coughs. Who was that? Sai asked. Naruto looked at Sai, then to the other three, who were panting again and were even more sweaty. Naruto sighed deeply. Water style. Water pillars, he said as 3 streams of water fell on the 3. They were left squeaky clean, but they were still drenched. Fire style. Fireball jutsu, Naruto said, releasing fire from his mouth. Wind style. Hazy blade jutsu, blades made of air circled around the fire, creating a hot enough air to dry the 3 but a cool enough air to not burn them. They all stared at Naruto, jaws on the ground. That was Fuji, my dash. Resident, of some sort, Naruto said, not really sure on what to call Fuji. I found him as a cub when on a mission. He grew attached to me and hardly leaves my side, but we had an argument a while back and he travels between my portals. Never knew why that dog liked me so much. It's not like I ever did anything for him. Tried to lose him a couple times, but he always found his way back. So now he stays inside me like Kurama and lends me his power now and then. He may be small, but he has almost as much chakra as Kurama, Naruto said, crouching down. Are you okay? Sai asked, seeing Naruto's leg tremble a bit. I'm fine, it's just the aftershock, Naruto said, getting up and patting his cloak. Oh yeah, please do not mention Fuji to anyone. Things will be a drag if word gets out. Naruto said, gesturing to the portal the 4 couldn't see. They packed up and went on their way. Naruto avoided every question that was thrown at him. I wonder what he meant by aftershock. Oh well, even if I asked, I doubt he'd tell me. He's really hard to approach now, but his looks and strength make up for that tenfold. Sakura's thoughts flowed into Naruto like a river. A river that had been contaminated by teenage hormones. Focus, Naruto said, looking back at her, making her lose her balance. She would have fallen if Sasuke hadn't been directly behind her. Things continued normally, the mission was going smoothly. Once finished, they headed back to the village, reported, and went their separate ways. Be careful, Kurama said. Naruto kept punching the tree at rapid speed and strength, making the tree tilt with every punch. He hadn't been using chakra, so his knuckles were bleeding through ripped gloves. Naruto scrunched his face and drew back his arm. He aimed it perfectly in the center, hitting it as hard as he could. The tree's roots snapped from the ground and it fell back. Naruto panted and fell back. He stayed there for a while, feeling the small surges of pain on his knuckles. Are you gonna hide forever? Naruto asked, his eyes closed, face towards the sky. The grass crunched as the footsteps got louder. Naruto opened his eyes. You're not one to leave. What are you doing here? Naruto asked, looking at the setting sun. I think you should return, said a man with snow-white hair and blue eyes. And why is that? Naruto asked, glancing at him. I can see it. His face looked pained as he grabbed his head and his legs wobbled. Naruto caught him before he could fall forward. Akito. Naruto panicked when he saw Akito cough up blood. Naruto looked around in panic. He lifted Akito over his shoulder and ran into the village. He was panicking, you could see the fear on his face. He busted into the tower of the Hokage and made his way up. He kicked the door open, scaring the crap out of Tsunade. "Don't just burst," she began, but stopped when he saw the body in his hands. His eyes were basically pleading. Tsunade nodded. "Set him down over there," Tsunade said, pointing at a room that could be seen from the doorway. Naruto walked into the room, setting Akito down gently on the ground. "You have to run," Akito said in a whisper. "Just hang in there," Naruto said. "It's bad." "I know it is, because he only gets sick when death is near," and Naruto lowered his eyes. "He'll be fine, he just needs plenty of rest," Tsunade said. Naruto sighed and sat down on the empty chair next to Akito. "Thanks," Naruto said. Akito turned to Naruto, his eyes were hazy. "I'll leave you two alone," Tsunade said, her eyes glued to the floor. Akito slowly raised his hand. "You have to get out of here." His voice was weak, barely audible. A tear streamed down his cheek. "The Akatsuki is in danger." Naruto's eyes widened. "You mean?" Naruto's face was full of dread. Akito put a finger to Naruto's forehead, a small light moving around his mind. Naruto began to cry out of nowhere. Akito took his hand away. "They'll die protecting you. Leave the village, BF." He grabbed his chest and gasped for air. "Aki? Akito? Hokage? Hokage?" Naruto yelled, but by the time Tsunade came back it was too late. Naruto didn't cry or stand in fear, he just stared at the lifeless body that laid in white sheets. Tsunade looked at his face, a bit frightened. He looked so used to it, as if he's seen something like this a million times. He slowly removed the sheets and grabbed Akito's body gently. "Nah." Tsunade stopped, seeing the look in his eyes. He looked at her and turned, walking straight and disappearing into his portal. Tsunade picked her pocket and took out an empty vial. "I'm sorry, Naruto." Her teeth could have cracked with the pressure she was putting on them. "I promised," Tsunade said to herself as she walked out of the room that would now haunt her. She walked into her office and sat down. "Shizune, what's the update?" Tsunade asked. "If we don't get that amulet, and soon this village will be gone." "We have 2 weeks tops," Shizune said. Tsunade's eyes lowered and she turned her chair so she could see the village. "Exactly 1 year ago we got reports of missing shinobi in various villages. At first we weren't too concerned. Shinobi often lose their lives on missions and are not confirmed dead till after the body is found. But in the span of a year, over 115 shinobi have vanished without a trace. Well, there was one thing, a scroll. The scroll told a story of a boy, the child of prophecy, who held the key to stopping whatever was happening. We believe that boy is Naruto. No, we know that boy is Naruto. Sasuke confirmed it. That mark on his hand is sign he has the amulet of life, and we will take it at any cost. My village has never been so afraid. People hardly go out. Shinobi became afraid for their safety, some even retired. This village was left in my hands, and I'll stop at nothing to achieve the dream of my fellow Hokage." Tsunade thought. She closed her eyes and turned to Shizune. "Are the preparations ready?" Tsunade asked. "Yes, we're all ready," Shizune said with a slow nod. Tsunade took something out of her pocket. It was a small picture of her and a young Naruto. He had a wide smile as Tsunade and him held out a peace sign. She turned back to the village and returned her eyes to the picture. "Gather the Akatsuki," Tsunade said in a low voice. "Lady Tsunade, are you really?" Tsunade slammed her fist down, breaking her desk in half. "What choice do I have?" Tsunade looked up in anger and sadness. "If we don't get that amulet, this whole village will." Tsunade's voice faded. "Why don't you just ask him? He may resent the village, but he cares for enough people here to save it," Shizune said, bringing Taunton into her arms. "He won't help us," Tsunade said, shaking her head. "Akito of fortune. He showed him the future, a future where the Akatsuki dies. Naruto will attack us, with all he's got." Shizune gripped her pig. Naruto stood in front of a fresh grave. On the tombstone it read, "Here lies Akito, a friend and a guardian." Naruto turned his head. He hated the sight of this place. There was rows and rows of graves. Naruto fell to his knees and sobbed. Everyone Naruto knew died because of him. At some point they all fell like flies. "I don't want to," Naruto sobbed. I don't want to bury them. Naruto rocked his body holding his head. Not them, not here, not ever. Naruto got up. I won't let you die in vain, Naruto said, touching the tombstone. I won't let any of you die in vain, Naruto said, looking at the graves. There were probably about 16, not counting Akito's. 17 graves. What a sad sight indeed. Having to bury your friends, it hurts, doesn't it? Naruto turned to see Fuji standing there. Akito's predictions are never wrong. So what are you gonna do now? Naruto turned his body and put a hand to Fuji's head. He released the seal on his body. Fuji began to grow into a full wolf instead of half. His height could rival Kurama's. Naruto opened a portal and Kurama stepped through it. You called, kid? Kurama said in his deep voice. We're going after Konoha. Once we're there, destroy everything and anyone, but don't lay a hand on Ichiraku, Sai, or Iruka. Kurama looked down sadly at Naruto's back. What about the rest of Team 7? Fuji asked. They're just as guilty, Naruto said, leaving through a portal. What did you do? Kurama asked, his teeth clenched. I did what had to be done. That village is holding him back, we both know it, Fuji said, looking at the graveyard. Of course I know the poor kid went through hell in that place. If I could I would have destroyed it myself, but we both know how much the few people who cared for him mean to him. Are we just gonna kill them? You care about Naruto as much as I do. Do you really want to see him dig another grave? Kurama asked. My chakra serves as a shield to people I give it to. I won't let anything happen to those Naruto holds dear, even if he doesn't realize he loves them yet. I'll protect them. Fuji said. If you don't, I'll never forgive you, Kurama said, going back to his own space. Fuji looked at the grave that sat in the middle. A loving mother with a kind soul, Koko. He gave my mother a place here, he even tried to save her. I'd never hurt Naruto, Fuji said, bowing his head. What's the plan, kid? Kurama asked, looking down at Naruto. Well, I already expected this would happen, so I made this. Naruto said. Kurama looked to the table to see a large map. You made a map of Konoha? Kurama asked. What? I can't draw, I don't even know how to make a map. Naruto said, shaking his head. I stole one, Naruto grinned. Ah, what would Tobi say if he knew you stole? Naruto turned his head to see Fuji. Hey, where were you all this time? Did you leave my portals? Naruto asked. Just some errands I had to run. Fuji smiled. He had Naruto return him to his normal size for now. Alright, well, I want you two to memorize this map as best you can. I have to go hide my family. Naruto waved and left. You think they'd let him? Fuji asked, jumping onto Kurama's head. Of course they won't, Kurama said, studying the map. Tobi. Guys. Naruto called, entering his home. Naruto. What are you doing here? Deidara asked, lifting his head, a bag of popcorn on his lap. Just came to visit. Where are the others? Naruto asked, looking around. In their rooms probably. It's 3 in the morning, who else besides you and me would be up at this hour? Naruto laughed and sat down next to him. Oh right, check this out. Naruto pulled out a clear crystal from his pocket. A keychain? It's pretty, Deidara said, looking at it. Wanna see a magic trick? Naruto asked with a smile. Sure, Deidara said. Okay, close your eyes and say Noda, Naruto said, putting the crystal to his head. Noda, Deidara said, and as soon as he did, his eyes snapped open, but it was too late to do anything. He had already been sucked into the crystal. Naruto lowered his eyes to the crystal that showed a tiny sleeping Deidara. Naruto took out a small box and placed the crystal inside. He then took out another crystal and headed upstairs. He knocked on Sasori's door and opened it. Sasori, Naruto called, shaking him. What? Sasori said sleepily. Say Noda. Naruto said, placing the crystal to his head. Noda. Wah, he didn't get to finish as his body was sealed in the crystal. He repeated the process 7 more times. He finally reached Itachi's room. He cocked lowly and entered. Are you gonna trap me as well? Itachi asked. Naruto stared wide-eyed at Itachi, who was sitting at his desk, a pencil in his hand. Did you think I didn't notice their chakaras disappearing? Naruto looked down. Why are you doing this? Itachi asked, moving his chair to face Naruto. Because I don't want to dig another grave, Naruto said, walking up to him and placing the cradle to his forehead. Akito died today, he showed me what will happen. Itachi's eyes widened as he saw Naruto's face in the light that hit him. His face was drained of color and his eyes were bloodshot red from crying. What was the word? Noda? Itachi said, ruffling his hair. Don't die, Itachi said before he was sealed into the crystal as well. Naruto placed him gently into the box and closed it. He was about to leave when he saw something that made his eyes sting once more. He stared at the picture that Itachi drew. It was of me and Itachi and Sasuke. He was smiling, his hands on our heads. Sasuke was pouting, but you could see the smile in his eyes. Naruto had a smile that even he didn't know he had. It was colored beautifully, and it was truly amazing. Naruto never knew Itachi could draw. As much as he loved Itachi, he never pried because he knew Itachi hated that. He flipped the page over, it was of all of them this time. Naruto and the Akatsuki. He turned it again, shocked this time. It was of him and Team 7 as well as the Hokage, his parents, Jiraiya, Iruka, Ayame, and Tsuchi. Naruto didn't want to turn another page, so he left. Fuji. Naruto called, walking towards them. What's up, Naruto? Fuji asked, jumping off Kurama. I need you to put the strongest barrier you have on this box, Naruto said, taking out the wooden box. My strongest barrier? What's in it? Fuji asked, furrowing his brows. Can you do it or not? Naruto asked. Sure, but it'll take me some time, Naruto nodded and handed it to Fuji. Be careful with it, Fuji nodded and began to seal the box. Have you memorized the map? Naruto asked Kurama. Yeah, I didn't even know the village had so many tunnels. Kurama said. They use them for emergency evacuation, Naruto said, sitting down. And how would you know that? Kurama asked with a sigh. Naruto grinned childishly. I stole this too, Naruto said, holding up a paper that had a bunch of routes from the village to different locations. I swear, kid, you amaze me. I didn't even know you stole them, Kurama said with a shake of his head. Naruto laughed. That's 'cause you're always sleeping. Kurama opened his mouth to say something but closed it and looked away. Naruto smiled. I'm done, Fuji said, handing him a blue ball. Inside was the box. Naruto's smile faded as he looked at the ball. Get some rest and store some of your chakra just in case. We attack tomorrow night, Naruto said, leaving. Did you do what you promised? Kurama asked. Of course, I've explained the situation to them and taken them to a safe location. The only one left was the Hokage. She wasn't anywhere to be found. Fuji said. Kurama sighed. Can you blame her? Kurama asked. Not at all, Fuji said, walking towards Kurama and laying on top of him. Good night, Fuji said, closing his eyes. Kurama gave a small nod and went to sleep himself. He would need it. Tomorrow they were going to start a war. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, comment down below and let me know. Also share this video with your friends. I have created a playlist of this what if where you guys can find all the parts. See you in the next video.